Welcome into the It's Official podcast alongside Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk. Let's get right to the big story this week around the country. The Southern California wildfires and how they impacted racing at Santa Anita and so many lives in Southern California. Jeff, each week we start off this show with our new topic, the Goosebump Award. It's typically the move or the performance on the racetrack that gets you excited and raises your blood and gets you going. This week, it was something that happened off the track, though. The Goosebump Award, the reaction to the fires in Southern California and the outpouring at Santa Anita.
It really warmed my heart to see it, quite frankly, even under these trying circumstances. Of course, I live in the hills. The hills that were burning were across from Santa Anita. I'm not that far west. I was about 5 miles away, but I did lose my power for 4 or 5 days, so that was inconvenient. But a lot of people had a lot worse than I did. And they went to Santa Anita, and God bless Santa Anita for opening up their parking lot to allow people who needed to have supplies picked up, go there. And the outpouring of gifts and goods and services were absolutely unexpected, quite frankly. We kind of stick to ourselves here in California most of the time, but in times of need, they stepped out. I had given a lot of clothes away during Christmas, so I really didn't have much to give left, and I wasn't around that much anyway. I was 50 miles away, but still, this was just great to see. This will continue on till tomorrow. Then racing starts on Thursday, so this will be closed up in a couple of today and then tomorrow. And as you can see, not only were the people very generous, but there were a lot of people who came and picked up what they needed, and were very, very grateful for the opportunity to come to Santa Anita.
Now, some of those days lost last week on the racing side of things. Of course, racing was canceled 3 days last week. 2 makeup dates will happen right off the bat. Thursday, noon Pacific, first post for this week's new racing weekend. And then on Monday, on the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, there will also be racing. So one of those a makeup day, one a holiday schedule, but it makes for a 5-day racing week. You see the post times, noon Pacific on Thursday. Friday, we'll have a 12:30 Pacific post time. Saturday will be the makeup date for the Cow Cup, which was scheduled for last Saturday with all the California bred stakes. 11:30 a.m. Pacific post time there. Also 11:30 a.m. Pacific post time Sunday and Monday. The La Cañada Stakes is on Sunday, as well as the Las Ciénegas. And again, the holiday Monday card coming up at Santa Anita. Jeff, let's talk about the impact on the racing in Southern California with those fires. Training, did horses lose time? I know the option was there, and Santa Anita offered to van horses to safer grounds if they felt necessary, but it seems like not many took up that offer, and most stayed at Santa Anita. Tell us what happened in terms of training in Southern California.
Well, they didn't allow the horses to breeze on last Thursday and Friday. The air quality wasn't great. It was never really that bad. I mean, but they said, let's, cool it for a couple of days anyway. And then they opened it up for training on Saturday, Sunday. And since then, there have been literally hundreds of horses breezing. I don't think anybody missed any time. As for the programs, I've already done morning lines through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I can tell you the racing is going to be terrific. I always thought we had too much racing. I can't say that anymore. Right. But full fields, I think there are 11 races on Saturday, if my memory serves, 10 on Friday and 10 on Sunday. So, I mean, they're filling the cards. And one other thing I want to say, this is probably not necessarily the right place to say it, but I'll just drop in my opinion that this Northern California deal that they have when horses shipping down to run, even though they're training at Pleasanton, I didn't think that was going to work, but it's worked. There have been those horses are coming down, they're filling fields, they're competitive. They're cheap races, but they're competitive. So far, at least from the racing standpoint, I think everything has been great. Again, full fields, big fields, good gambling. They're betting their money. So I don't know if Santa Anita expected to work out this way so well, but it has. Now, if we can just get the fire danger put aside, which I think will happen in the next 2-3 days, I think we can get back to normal.
Yeah, we certainly do want to see a repeat, or do not want to see a repeat of what happened at San Luis Ray Downs back December of 2017 and the fires that ravaged through there, still stick with a lot of folks who train and race in Southern California. So be vigilant out there, obviously. And if you have the means to do so, the Red Cross and other great charities that are taking care of the folks out there affected by the wildfires in Southern California, we certainly recommend that you do so. Let's go to our second topic this week, the controversy on the track at Tampa Bay Downs. Pasco Stakes was really the only 3-year-old stakes of note that went last week, and the 7-furlong sprint on the Tampa Bay Derby circuit, the road to the Tampa Bay Derby, expected to be the favorite Owen Almighty show. Well, he was almighty, all right. He got the victory, but he was disqualified for interference fairly early in the race. Let's take a look at when that incident occurred, his win, and we'll talk about it after.
Now back and nose in front. Countering right back is Owen Almighty. 21-4, demanding test for this 7-furlong event. Naughty Rascal now comes up to join the party on the outside. So the 3 favorites once again in a cluster as they go toward that far turn. Oh, Rookie Card took an awkward step there and is back to 4th now. So back to the top here. And on the outside, Naughty Rascal, Owen Almighty. They've gone about 5 or 6 in front of Cockeyed. Very Bold is up to that 4th position. Rookie Card again dropped back to 5th. Juan Colorado is 6th. They come around to the top of the stretch. Naughty Rascal on the outside of Owen Almighty, and these two head and head to the top of the lane. They're 5 lengths clear. A Very Bold who now merges up into the 3rd spot. A final furlong left to go. Owen Almighty on the inside of Naughty Rascal. These two with 150 yards left to settle their score. Owen Almighty on the inside, now back in front. Naughty Rascal now a length back. Owen Almighty edging clear late. Owen Almighty and Irad Ortiz Jr. to win it by a length. Naughty Rascal.
A measured win in the end for Owen Almighty, but the measurement not so good for Irad Ortiz on the backstretch. That bad step that Rookie Card took was because Irad dropped over on him in a reckless move that ended up getting him a 3-day suspension. Jeff, do you feel that the bettors were taken care of in this point? This is one of those, obviously a foul, but did it impact the outcome of the race? So hard to say so far from the wire, but if you had Owen Almighty, certainly doesn't feel good to have that one come down.
No, this was a tough call. Clearly, the winner was Best, and he really ran well. That's lost in the shuffle is the fact that Owen Almighty, for start this year, had won 2 out of 3 last year as a 2-year-old. He's a nice colt. I don't know how far he'll run, but I think 7/8 to a 1-turn mile might be up his alley. And I thought he showed a lot of courage there to fight off the other pace challenger and then draw clear late. As for disqualifying a 1-2 shot like that, I can't quarrel with the disqualification because it did cost the horse that was fouled any chance for a placing. On the other hand, if you look at it closely, you could maybe make a case that he was already kind of dropping back out of it. In other words, he wasn't trying to move through an inside hole and got shut off. He was inside and then gradually started to lose ground and then took up when the other horse came over, which would not have happened probably had the horse that was fouled been able to maintain his position. So that kind of hurt if you bet on. But in terms of trying to walk the fine line between protecting the betting public, which in this case wasn't protected, it wasn't their fault that this horse did that, and it didn't cost the horse that fouled. I mean, you can't say this for a fact, but I believe it didn't cost him a win. And then trying to protect not only the connections, trying to maybe get a piece of the purse, which they couldn't get, but also try to discourage riders from being careless. I could see the other side. I don't really have a clear answer. I wish I do like the fact that several decades ago, because I go back a long time, it used to be a foul was a foul. I remember Dr. Fager winning the Jersey Derby by a mile, but he fouled somebody in the first turn. And he got disqualified, which I thought that was ridiculous. But that would never happen anymore. They'd leave him up and give the jock days. So I like the fact that they moved towards the idea of if it didn't cost the position, horse's position, or didn't alter the order or finish, they protect the public by leaving it up and then give days if you have to do that. That I like. This was right on the edge of that, Jeremy. Do you have a better solution? Because I'm all ears.
Well, like a split decision may not be a bad thing to look at and consider. I mean, we're talking about all these different rules and ways to adjudicate. Why not have a decision that's a horseman's decision? This horse will be taken out of purse money. The jockey will get days. This horse will be placed from racing position, seventh in this race, and someone else will move up and get the purse money. But when it comes to the public and was the race impacted or not, a separate decision made on that. And in that decision, you would say this didn't impact the gambling on the race. The order of finish stands from a gambling standpoint, a split decision. Another thing, too, is like we talk about a foul is a foul. And yeah, and if you're going to call that, then a foul is a foul. They all come down. But since we've kind of made that a gray area where a foul is a foul if it impacts the outcome of the race with the stewards, maybe we need kind of like a zone where a foul is a foul means a foul is a foul. Kind of like in the NBA, you know, they have that circle underneath the basket that if you're there, stationed there, and you get run over, it's going to be a charge, right? You can't take a charge underneath the basket like that. Right. Maybe there's a zone from the quarter pole home. If a foul happens from the quarter pole home, it's a foul is a foul. You're coming down. Nobody gets to make a decision at that point whether or not it impacted the outcome of a race. Too close to call in the final quarter of a mile. But further out than that, maybe you can allow some stewards' decision in there and some discretion. But there's inconsistency from state to state, booth to booth, even within the same state of stewards who are under the same rules. So I guess we kind of live with this, right? I mean, we're in an era where the NFL officiating seems like junk. The NBA officiating seems like junk. Major League Baseball wants to go to robot umpires. I mean, so I don't know. Maybe we're not going to be happy no matter what happens in any situation, but there are probably better ways to do things than what we're doing currently.
By the way, I just thought about that robot umpire, which is not that far away. I think they might even be trying it in the minors someday soon. But if they have that, who does the manager come out and yell at? On a ball called strike three. I mean, does he yell at the robot? Can they program the robot to throw him out?
I don't know. Some guy who's sitting in an office who did the coding or something like that. I don't know. You can't turn on him. I don't know what you would do with that.
Tell you what, though, Jeremy, your idea of maybe having two sets of decisions on the same race isn't a bad one. I mean, leave it up, let the bettors protect themselves, and and then if you want to disqualify a horse for purse money and give days, you can do that too, without affecting the payoff. I'm not that opposed to that. I have to think about it more, but that makes some sense to me. I don't know how they would do it, but it makes sense.
Right. Well, that's what we talk about. This is the Banter Show, and we try to put some ideas out there and see maybe some of them will stick sometime. Let's go to our third topic this week on It's Official, our Triple Crown Tracker. We talked Pasco in topic number 2. Triple Crown Tracker's got some news about it this week on the 3-year-old scene, and also a big race coming up this weekend we'll talk about in just a moment in topic number 4. But as for the Triple Crown Tracker, it is Journalism, a horse who was expected to run in the Bob Lewis. He's my number 1 ranked 3-year-old coming into this season. He last won the Los Al Futurity, but it came out this week that he's not going to make the Bob Lewis because he spiked a fever after that race. Let's see him at his best, and Jeff will tell us what missing that start might do to his campaign.
Journalism's the one setting out after Getaway Car, and at the 3/16 pole, Journalism races into the lead, kicks past Getaway Car. Gaming is as flat third as Journalism bursts away with a 16th left to go, and Journalism, sitting on the cusp of an impactful 3-year-old season, wins the Los Al Futurity by 3.5 lengths.
You're only moments away from the impactful 3-year-old season to right? I mean, are we saying now? He's supposed to get back to the workout tab in the coming days for trainer Michael McCarthy, but should we be worried in mid-January about Journalism?
I don't think so. If you're going to have a problem, not a big problem, but a little problem like getting sick, do have it in January. Don't have it on April 28th, and I don't know whether it will bother Journalism if he begins a month later or not. It's not like he doesn't have a foundation. Not a great foundation, but he's been 2 turns. He's won a stakes routing. So I think that's going to be okay. But tough week for Michael McCarthy in the last couple of weeks. He thought he had 2 major bombs, and Bullard was flat, did not fire at all, didn't change leads, looked like nothing like the colt we had seen before. And now his other colt gets sick. I mean, it's a tough sport. I mean, we'll talk about a few others in here a little bit later on in the same segment, but that's the toughest thing about owning a Derby horse is not whether you win or lose, but whether you even make the race.
Yeah.
And so many things, that dreaded phone call, and I've gotten them, in the morning,
Yeah.
that spoils the whole dream. So I don't know. I think this colt's going to be fine. It would be different if it was some kind of physical leg ailment or something, but horses get sick. So I'm not worried too much about him. He'll have plenty of time. I just don't know who he's going to have to run against. I mean, do you really want to run against Barnes before the Derby? I'd kind of want to avoid him. I don't know about you, but that's probably what's going to happen now. So we shall see what we shall see. But tough couple of weeks for Michael McCarthy. It's part of the game.
Look, he's had 2 really good shots, right, going into this year. You talked about that. But 2 is not a big number when you talk about the big barns, right? This is why Pletcher's got a fleet of horses over the years, why Brad Cox has a fleet of horses is seemingly every spring. Steve Asmussen with a huge group of them. And then they get down to Derby time and have 1 or 2 left. Baffert, obviously, back in the Derby trail this year. It's got upwards of 7 or 8 that we already know are kind of on the cusp. And how many of them are still shining by May? And what new ones will emerge between now and then. But the smaller barns, the smaller outfits, they don't get that roster turnover, right? And they don't have the roster of Ohio State college football, right? I mean, they didn't load up on the transfer portal and have all these 5-star recruits. They don't have 7 great 3-year-old colts in their barn. To have 2 for a barn the size of Michael McCarthy's is remarkable in a campaign. And that's kind of why this game has tilted so much to the super trainers when we talk about the Triple Crown scene. But then you talk about recent years, Gustavo Delgado winning with Mage and Eric Reed winning. And last year, Kenny McPeak. McPeak's had a big operation over the years, but he's not always loaded with 6 or 7 really strong 3-year-olds either. So you can get there. It's the right horse on the right day. But boy, having the numbers this time of year certainly helps with the attrition.
Yeah, it does. And like you say, Michael's only got 2 bullets to fire. And so he's going to have to sweat it out. Baffert can always go 5 deep. And so he's always got backups. So we'll see what happens. Citizen Bull is not a backup, though. He's certainly a major player, even though I still have my doubts as to how far he wants to run. I don't know how he worked, but the light looked good here. The jockey
He's dancing in the dark, as I like to say.
Exactly. This was in the dark a few days ago, and I think he went all right. Usually in the morning, our cameras are able to, even in the dark, pick up a horse pretty well, but this was really dark. So I guess apparently nothing, there were no lights on or anything like that, but he worked on 1 minute and 3/5, and that was like his 5th workout now since being brought back. So I think he's on schedule. He's still has a lot to prove as to whether he needs the lead to win, how far he can run, but he's a quality colt for sure. And the good news, if nothing else, based on what I think I'm seeing here, is that he's doing well. And that's what you want to see beginning of the year with a colt who certainly has a right to be in the conversation.
The pattern and the spacing of the workout tells me he's doing well, right? He's right on cue. Like you said, this is his 5th, 6th workout back towards the Bob Lewis, which will be the first week of February. This horse, Citizen Bull, of course, coming off the win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He's just a couple weeks away from being named last year's champion 2-year-old, and he'll be one of Bob Baffert's strong players, obviously, towards the Triple Crown scene. He's got Barnes, who is the individual favorite for the Kentucky Derby Future Wager. That's coming up this weekend. Kentucky Derby Future Wager number 3 is up this Friday through Sunday. Let's take a look at the 40 individual entrants in this year's Kentucky Derby Pool 3. And we start things off. We'll put these 10 on a page throughout. And Barnes at 10-1, the In the Mischief colt for Bob Baffert, is the individual favorite at 10-1 in Mike Battaglia's morning line for the Kentucky Derby Future Wager. I can't argue with that. I think he'll be favored in this particular spot in this pool. Built as a horse we're going to talk about in just a bit, running in the Lecomte this weekend. Chancer McPatrick, some news on him. Jeff, tell us what's going on with Chancer McPatrick.
Well, here's another situation where you have a nice 2-year-old, put him away and try to bring him back, and things don't go right. Although I understand from what I could read, Chancer McPatrick had a flake removed, a small chip in the ankle, but that actually happened late last year. So he's got that out of the way. He'll start breezing maybe the beginning of next month, puts him up against the 8 ball a little bit. And I don't know how far he wants to run anyway. So, I mean, let's put it this way. There are lots of horses on this list that we will see future book that are higher than 20 to 1 on the tentative, the so-called morning line, but I think have a much better chance of being competitive in the Derby. If we look at the second page here, Gunmetal might be pretty good, 30 to 1. You might want to take a little bit of a look at him. He went well. Grande was a debut winner last weekend. It looks like a colt. They certainly bred to run long. You may want to take a flyer at 50 to 1 if he develops quickly. There's some names on that list that look like they could be part of the gang there in May if they continue on.
Let's go to the third page. We look at numbers 21 through 30. And here, Innovators, a horse for Lucas. We're going to see here in just a bit. Jonathan's Way, the aforementioned journalism. Madaket Road is a Baffert who won opening day of the championship of the classic meet there at Santa Anita on the 26th. He's very interesting to me. I think Madaket Road could be one of his better horses for Baffert. Patch Adams, obviously a super talented horse for Brad Cox. The Owen Almighty, who we saw in action winning the Pasco Stakes, he's offered up at 50. Poster, one of the Owen Hardys. He's got a couple here that are coming off big stakes wins. He won the Remsen, he won the Kentucky Jockey Club, Owen Hardy, in the fall. He's got himself a pretty good hand to play this year as well.
Yeah, I think in that list, if you ask me who would I like better as a Derby horse, journalism at 20 to 1 or Chancer McPatrick at 20 to 1, that's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
But I do like speaking of 20 to 1, I think Patch Adams is a really comer. I think he's a really good colt who like some of these. Unlike some of these who maybe have shown their best already, I think the sky is the limit for Patch Adams. I'm very much high on him, and I'm very eager to see how he runs in his next start.
And we wrap it up with the fourth and final page, 31 through 40, and the wagering interest for Kentucky Derby pool number 3 and the future wager. Rodriguez and Romanesque were two horses we saw last week at Santa Anita. Rodriguez, really impressive, 2-turn maiden special weight winner. Romanesque was runner-up to his stablemate in the San Vicente Stakes for Baffert. Sovereignty is a horse I like for Bill Mott. I don't know if I take 25 to 1. I think I want a bigger price on that. I think it's one of the kind of feels like a wise guy horse for me. I don't know at 25, but at 40 or 50, I'm actually looking for 50 to 1 this time of year in January, Jeff. I always have my rules on these wagers. 50 to 1 or more at this point. A little bit later in the future wagers, I'll take double the price of what I think they'll be on Derby Day, but not this far out. I still want a big number.
I don't know where they got him. Maybe they were watching or listening to our show, but our friend Varney makes the list. He was a Stars of the Future horse, and he hasn't even run yet, but we showed a workout of him at Santa Anita. He actually breezed a couple of days ago, so I think you'll probably see him not this week, but certainly by next week if they have any designs on getting him kickstarted, and he's a good colt as well. But there's some good names in there. It's kind of open right now. I mean, it's really open. Unlike last year where we thought we had a pretty solid favorite, this year there's a lot of proving to do among lightly raced, very well-bred, bright prospects and top hands that can take off. So I think now is the time, if you want to make a future book bet, now would be the time to take a shot. Because some of these horses, they'll get exposed, but some of them are going to jump off the roof too. And then the next start, and then you will forget about 40 to 1 or whatever you're looking at. It'll go down to, gamble now if you want it, if you have a little bit of an inkling on something.
Derby Future Wager again opens at noon on Friday, goes through Sunday at 6 p.m. That's going to include a race this weekend. It's our fourth topic, the Lecomte Stakes. And after Saturday's Lecomte, we'll have a little bit better feel for the Louisiana Derby Trail. And if you're playing the Kentucky Derby Future Wagers this weekend, Lecomte Stakes, we're going to preview that now in topic number 4, field of 14. We've got a capacity group in here. None of these also eligibles. All 14 in the main body of the field. This should be a mile and a 16th race, around 2 turns with a 14-horse field that is quite an educational experience for these 3-year-olds. Sometimes you don't get much out of a race. 5-horse field, 6-horse field, going a mile, going 7/8 of a mile. This has a feel of something that could build a little constitution, if you will, towards the Triple Crown Series, Jeff. The field of 14 includes the horse who won easily in the first leg of the Louisiana Derby Series. His name is Built. He's coming out of a win in the Gun Runner Stakes. I'm going to show you that, and we'll see the competition and the situation should get tougher for Built this time around.
It's been smooth sailing indeed for Built. Built leads toward the quarter pole from Magnitude as Admiral Dennis is now coming up with a bit on the outside. Render Judgment straightens away in fourth. Chris's Revenge is last. These 2-year-olds head for home here at the fairgrounds after 3/4 for Built in 1 minute 13.77 seconds. And Built has builded up a big lead coming down toward the final 16th, and Built has the kick. Magnitude chased Built throughout. Render Judgment is third, and Built just steamed away from them in the gun runner. Won by 7.
The Catman, Wayne Catalano with Built. He's in post 13, and that will not be an easy challenge for him to overcome from out there in that mile and a 16th race at Fairgrounds. Not a long run to the first turn, and post 13 will be difficult in there. He's back against Magnitude for Steve Asmussen, who's drawn in post number 4. Admiral Dennis was disappointing in that race for Brad Cox. He looks to rebound, and he's obviously better than what he showed that day. I think we could see more out of Admiral Dennis, but he might not even be the best Brad Cox in the field, Jeff Siegel. I know you got your eye on Disco Time a little bit.
Well, Disco Time is progressing, and that's what you like to see. You look at his form; he's undefeated in 2 starts. I always preach that you always want that second race to be better than the first if you want to be a Derby colt, which they do. Now, he made a move. He went from a 77 buyer to 81 buyer. It's not a massive move, but at least he went in the right direction when he won that allowance race. And I don't know whether how good he is. I love his sire, not this time. He's a little bit more of a grinder, that he doesn't have that acceleration that maybe we saw with Built. But again, horses develop at different rates, and you don't know where they're at with them. But I can tell you that they'll find out in this race. He's going to have to be a fairly decent colt to win this one. And getting back to Built, I talked about the progression that Disco Time had with regards to buyers. He's gone from 65 to 77 to 92. I mean, I just love that. And even though he won this race on the lead, Built did, he'd won his previous race sitting second. So it wasn't like he needed an easy lead. So yeah, I'm very, very high on him. And I'm interested to see how much progress, and he's going to have to make progress, that Disco Time makes in this race to get into that first or second level. Right now, he's on the outside looking out, but he's got a chance to join that top level group of 3-year-olds that are going to be talked about this spring and winter, winter and spring. I know, I get it.
If you haven't seen Disco Time to this point, spin the globe, the ball, and turn on the lights. Let's go back to his race at Churchill Downs.
1 furlong to go. Disco Time is now up for a short lead. Troubleshooting starts to give way. White Whale is third. Perfect Force is fourth. Disco Time first. Disco Time does it in the end and is a 3-length winner. White Whale with a good effort to grab second.
So the Lecomte Stakes coming up on Saturday at Fairgrounds, field of 14. Jeff and I will handicap that in detail on our Friday podcast. Be sure to join us for the First Call podcast each and every Friday, where we handicap stakes races from around the country. And also for more on the Lecomte Stakes right now, there's a Meet the Contenders blog written I did yesterday at expressbet.com and at news.first.com. You can check out the Meet the Contenders, learn a little bit about all 14 players for this week's Lecomte Stakes. And of course, I'll have the in-depth report for that on Countdown to the Crown, released each and every Friday. Let's go to our fifth and final topic on It's Official. Our Stars of Tomorrow always wrap things up here. We had a showdown between Brad Cox and Todd Pletcher last week at Gulfstream Park, where Vanderbilt was the big favorite for Brad Cox, but it was River Thames for Todd Pletcher, who flowed freely, and he got our Star of Tomorrow.
Outside, River Thames to take a clear lead. Vanderbilt has to fight back toward the inside. 2 better than White Whale. Skate Away is next. 1/8 of a mile to go. On the outside, and River Thames, Johnny V rouses him forward, and the son of McLean's Music has a kick, and he's a winner. It's all River Thames in the final 16th of a mile. He clears off. River Thames by 4 in the end. Second, Vanderbilt. White Whale is third. Skate Away is fourth in 1:10-1.
Jeff, tell us a little bit about River Thames. Are we looking at a Derby prospect?
Well, he's by a sprinter, McLean's Music, and who gets mostly sprinters, but he's got some middle distance horses. Derby, I don't know, but I can tell you this: I put this race on live, and Vanderbilt was getting bet off the board like he couldn't lose, and so I figured he's got to be live. And then I saw an interview with Todd Pletcher, and what are you expecting from River Thames, and he was much more confident, much more positive than I thought he'd be. It's usually, trainers speak. Well, we haven't done much with him, and first time out, and we're not really cranked up, and all this other stuff. That's what I call my protect your ass speech.
PYA.
He can run, but
yeah.
But I didn't hear a lot of buts from Todd. He was really optimistic. So when this horse loomed up on the outside into the stretch to hook Vanderbilt, I was thinking, I'm got a hunch this colt's going to go by him. And he did with authority. The margins were 4 3/4, 5, and the rest nowhere. So it was a good, strong, fast, highly rated race. I don't know how ambitious they're going to get, but if this colt were by Curlin, you know where they'd be going. But he's by McLean's Music. So I think they'll probably a little bit reserved, a little bit to begin with. Let's not throw him to the wolves yet. Maybe give him another one-turn race and then try to build up his confidence, get some stamina, get some foundation underneath him. We'll find out soon enough. But this colt looks like a quality colt. And again, Todd could use one. He needs a talking horse about this time of the year. And this colt, River Thames, might just be the one.
And look, if you're a one-turn horse, there are plenty of good destinations. You've got the race at Churchill Downs, the Pat Day Mile. You've got, of course, on Belmont Day, the Woody Stevens. You've got some signature races early in the calendar, to point for in April, May, even if you are a one-turn type. And I always say necessity is the mother of invention when it comes to trying to come up with these Triple Crown horses. If Todd's got other horses who can route, River Thames can be left to do what he does best and not moved into a role that might be stretching him beyond what his best might be. So certainly that's one of those other things. We talk about the big barns having the ability to do things. They don't have to plug a horse in a particular spot where they don't belong because they have somebody else to kind of fill those holes, where a smaller barn may have to. It's like, look, this is my one shot. This is the best 3-year-old I've ever had. I don't know if he can run that far, but let's try because we don't get here. With the big barns, they've got the opportunity to plug in some other horses who may fit better. Let's go and review our topics this week on It's Official. Our Goosebump Award went to the outpouring of love and affection that we saw in Southern California, helping the community there at Santa Anita with the wildfires in Southern California. We talked about the impact on the racing and the schedule at Santa Anita, which is adapted this week to a Thursday through Monday 5-day racing week. We talked about the controversy at Tampa Bay Downs, where Owen Almighty and jockey Irad Ortiz dropped over on rookie card early in the Pasco Stakes, was disqualified. Ortiz got 3 days. We talked about whether it was good or bad call and what we might do in adjudicating decisions moving forward with some suggestions. Our Triple Crown tracker looked at the Kentucky Derby Future Wager Pool number 3. We kind of saw Citizen Pool work out in the dark. He is coming back off the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We talked about journalism missing some training time reportedly, so Michael McCarthy will not get that one back to face Citizen Pool for the Bob Lewis, but not expected to miss much more time. Our Lecomte Stakes preview took a look at the field of 14, and we took a look at some of the contenders in there, including Built, winner of the Gunrunner Stakes, and a stylish 2-for-2 runner named Disco Time. And our star of tomorrow, the Todd Pletcher-trained River Thames fast sprint winner, might be a sprinter moving forward. Those 5 topics are now official because Jeff Siegel and I said so. That's the way we play the game, and we'll re-rack it and do it all again in 7 days' time next Tuesday. Between now and then, Jeff and I will be back on Friday for the First Call podcast, where we'll handicap 8 weekend stakes races. I want to remind you, Beat the Host, week number 3 of the Beat the Host contest at expressbet.com, challenges you to handicap Santa Anita and Gulfstream races against our host. If you beat them, you win weekly prizes and play for more than $67.5, I believe, in the prize pool for the season. Tom Quigley, your target this week. If you follow Tom Quigley's Corner on X, you know he's already talking trash for that one. So take Quigley down this Saturday and shut him up, would you?
I promise when I come up, I will not be talking trash. I will be encouraging you to participate. You have a very good chance of beating me, as always.
On behalf of everybody with First Bet and Express Bet, we're happy you joined us this week. Once again, reach out to those folks in Southern California if you can, and you have the means to do so. God bless everybody out there, and we're pulling for everyone in Southern California. Hopefully this natural disaster will be a limited situation from this point forward, but we look forward to racing returning to Santa Anita this Thursday. Again, have a great week, everybody. Jeff and I will be back Friday.